The wrong hands received the alien SOS. Yet, they proved to be the right saviors. As Graxus, the towering Grimlock commander, stormed the facility to trigger mass executions of Kalari civilians, Colonel Reyes and her armored marines intercepted him in a desperate last stand. Earth-forged strength clashed with alien brutality, humanity's first interstellar battle culminating in the defeat that birthed a guardian species. The midnight shift aboard Aegis 7 always felt longer than the others. Dr. Elena Shaw pressed her fingertips against her temples, massaging away the headache that had been building for the past 3 hours. The monitoring station's xenocommunications lab hummed with the ambient noise of equipment scanning distant frequencies. 20 years into humanity's deep space expansion, and the lab still maintained its round-the-clock vigil for any sign of intelligent communication. 20 years, and nothing but the occasional burst of cosmic background radiation that almost, but never quite, resembled a pattern. Elena reached for her coffee mug, grimacing when she found it empty and cold. The station orbited the gas giant Thalia in the Arcturus system, maintaining what Earth Command called a watchful peace. In practice, this meant monitoring endless streams of data, running simulations, and scanning for any anomalies that might indicate intelligent, non-human activity. "You look like you could use a fresh cup," came a voice from the doorway. Elena turned to see Captain Marcus Hale, commander of Aegis 7, watching her with a mixture of concern and amusement. Tall, with close-cropped silver hair that belied his 45 years, Hale carried himself with the bearing of someone who had spent a lifetime in military service. "Is it that obvious?" Elena asked, stretching her arms above her head to loosen the knots in her shoulders. "Only to someone who's been watching you fall asleep at your console for the past month?" Hale approached, examining the scrolling data on her screens. "Anything noteworthy?" Elena shook her head. "The usual background noise. Mining ships reporting in from the outer belt. A few long-range comm relays for the fleet. Nothing that screams first contact yet." "Yet," Hale repeated, a hint of skepticism in his voice. 20 years since we spread out from Earth, and not a single confirmed intelligent species encountered. Maybe we really are alone out here." "Or maybe they're hiding," Elena suggested, not for the first time. "Earth is classified as a death world, remember? High gravity, extreme temperature variations, aggressive fauna, natural disasters, the works. What if other intelligent life evolved in gentler environments? They might be terrified of what humans could do to them. Hence the Deathworlder fleet," Hale mused, using the unofficial name for humanity's first deep space naval force. Crews specifically chosen from Earth's most extreme environments, ships designed to intimidate. Tactics honed on a world that tried to kill us at every turn. He shrugged. "If I were a peaceful alien species, I might steer clear too." Elena turned back to her console, fingers flying over the holographic interface. "I still believe they're out there, and when we do make first contact, I want to make sure it's peaceful." "Ever the optimist, Dr. Shaw," Hale said, his tone softening. "I'll have someone bring you a fresh coffee. Try not to fall asleep before your relief arrives." "No promises," Elena called after him as he left. Alone again in the quiet lab, she continued her scans, eyes growing heavier with each passing minute. The alert sounded at 0347 station time. Elena jolted awake, momentarily disoriented before her training kicked in. She focused on the flashing notification on her screen. Anomalous signal detected in the Tau Ceti sector. Repeated pattern. Non-standard frequency. Her heartbeat quickened as she isolated the signal, filtering out the background noise. It resembled a standard mining ship ping on initial scan, the kind used by Earth vessels to report status. But the frequency was off by several microhertz, and the pattern repeated in an unusual cadence. Elena amplified the signal, breaking it down into components for analysis. After 20 minutes of intense scrutiny, she was convinced. This was no equipment glitch or cosmic anomaly. The signal contained coordinates embedded within the repeating pattern, coordinates that pointed to a system beyond the edge of mapped human space. With trembling fingers, she opened a comm channel to the command deck. "Captain Hale, I need you in the Xenocom lab immediately." Hale arrived 7 minutes later, looking alert despite the early hour. "This better be good, Dr. Shaw." "It's better than good," Elena said, unable to contain her excitement. "It's what we've been waiting for." She gestured to her screens, where the signal analysis was displayed. "It's an SOS." Hale frowned, studying the data. "Looks like a standard mining ship ping to me." "That's the brilliance of it," Elena insisted. "It's disguised to appear that way. But the frequency is wrong, and there's a pattern hidden within the signal." She highlighted sections of the waveform. "See here, and here? These aren't random fluctuations. It's a repeating sequence that contains coordinates." "Could be equipment malfunction," Hale suggested, but Elena could tell he was intrigued. "Where do these coordinates point?" Elena brought up a star chart. "Sector 47 Theta, just beyond the Tau Ceti system. It's unmapped territory." Hale's expression darkened. "That's uncomfortably close to reported Grimlock activity." Elena's excitement gave way to concern. The Grimlocks were the closest thing humans had discovered to alien life. Spacefaring raiders who attacked unmanned mining operations and avoided direct contact. No human had ever seen one, but their distinctive ship designs and tactics suggested a non-human intelligence. "How old is this signal?" Hale asked. "Based on signal degradation, approximately 6 hours." Hale straightened. Decision made. "Get Lieutenant Park down here. I want this signal verified before I alert Earth Command." Within the hour, Elena and Lieutenant Park had confirmed the signal's alien origin. The pattern was unlike anything in human communications databases, and the embedded coordinates were too precise to be coincidental. "The signal's structure suggests a language base we've never encountered," Elena explained to Hale. "But the distress markers are universal. Repeated triplet bursts, followed by a long carrier wave. It's how any spacefaring species would design an SOS." "And you're certain it's coming from Sector 47 Theta?" Hale asked. Lieutenant Park nodded. "Yes, sir. We've triangulated using 3 different relay points. The origin is consistent with the embedded coordinates." Hale's jaw tightened. "That sector has seen increased Grimlock raider activity over the past month. Intelligence suggests they might be targeting something specific." "Or someone," Elena said quietly. Hale turned to her. "Explain." "What if this isn't just a distress call? What if it's a plea for help from a civilization under attack? We might have inadvertently intercepted a genocide in progress." The word hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. "I need to contact Earth Command," Hale said finally. "This goes beyond our station's authority." As Hale left to establish a secure connection with Earth, Elena continued analyzing the signal, hoping to extract more information. The fate of an unknown species might depend on what they could learn in the next few hours. The transmission to Earth Command took place in Hale's private office, with Elena and Lieutenant Park present to explain their findings. On the screen, Admiral Lee's weathered face remained impassive as they presented their evidence. "Let me understand this clearly," Lee said when they had finished. "You've intercepted what you believe to be an alien distress signal from beyond our mapped territory, in a sector with known Grimlock activity?" "Yes, Admiral," Hale confirmed. "Dr. Shaw is confident this represents first contact with a previously unknown intelligent species, one that may be under attack." Lee's gaze shifted to Elena. "Dr. Shaw, what is the probability that this is a trap? The Grimlocks have shown cunning before." "The signal structure is far too complex for a simple lure," Elena replied. "It contains linguistic elements we've never encountered, yet follows universal distress protocols. The Grimlocks have never demonstrated this level of sophistication." A long pause followed as Lee consulted with off-screen advisors. When he returned his attention to them, His expression was grave. "I'm convening an emergency council of senior officers," he announced. "This situation has significant strategic and moral implications. Stand by for further instructions." The screen went dark, leaving them in tense silence. "What happens now?" Lieutenant Park asked. "Now we wait," Hale replied, "and hope the council makes the right decision." The council's deliberations lasted 5 hours. During that time, Elena continued monitoring the alien signal, noting with growing alarm that its strength was diminishing, a sign that the transmission source might be failing. When Admiral Lee finally reconnected, he was flanked by the holographic projections of 6 other high-ranking officers. After thorough debate, Lee began without preamble. "Earth Command has invoked Protocol Deathworlder." Elena felt a surge of both relief and apprehension. Protocol Deathworlder, the contingency plan for humanity's first major engagement with hostile alien forces, called for the immediate mobilization of warships, crewed by those born and trained in Earth's most extreme environments: high-gravity specialists, deep-sea adaptive forces, and desert survival experts. "Aegis 7 will serve as the command relay," Lee continued. "The heavy cruiser Thermopylae and destroyer group Echo are already en route to your position. Transport ships carrying the 7th Marine Expeditionary Unit will follow." "Admiral," Elena interjected, "the signal is weakening. Whatever's happening at those coordinates, time is running out." Lee nodded grimly. "Which is why we're authorizing immediate hyperspace jumps once the fleet assembles. This will be the first combat deployment of human forces beyond our established territories. Captain Hale, you'll coordinate from Aegis 7, providing real-time intelligence to the fleet commander." "Understood, Admiral," Hale acknowledged. "And our diplomatic stance?" "First priority is to assess the situation and render aid to the distress signal source," Lee replied. "If Grimlock forces are present and hostile, you are authorized to engage with appropriate force." The briefing continued for another 30 minutes, covering operational details and communication protocols. As it concluded, a lieutenant entered the frame beside Admiral Lee, handing him a datapad. Lee's expression tightened as he read the contents. "We've just received a message from the Vorak Empire," he announced. Elena exchanged a glance with Hale. The Vorak were the only other confirmed spacefaring power humans had encountered. A vast, bureaucratic empire that claimed jurisdiction over dozens of star systems, but showed little interest in direct engagement with humanity. "They're claiming territorial rights over Sector 47 Theta," Lee continued. "They've demanded we refrain from any military action in what they call a local matter beneath Imperial notice." "They know about the distress signal?" Elena asked, incredulous. "They reference minor border skirmishes involving primitive species," Lee read from the pad. "Their message explicitly forbids human interference." A heavy silence fell over the room. "Your orders remain unchanged," Lee said finally. "Humanity answers the distress call. The Vorak Empire's diplomatic protests will be handled through appropriate channels." After the transmission ended, Elena turned to Hale. "The Vorak knew. They knew someone was being attacked, and they chose to do nothing." "Politics," Hale said bitterly. "The strong decide what happens to the weak." "Not this time," Elena replied, determination hardening her voice. "This time, the call came to us." The next 18 hours passed in a blur of activity, as Aegis 7 transformed from a monitoring station into a forward command post. Ships arrived in rapid succession, establishing a formidable human presence in the Arcturus system. Elena barely slept, dividing her time between analyzing the weakening alien signal and briefing arriving fleet officers on what they knew. By the time the Thermopylae dropped out of hyperspace, a massive warship designed to project human military power across vast distances, she had extracted additional information from the transmission. "I believe they call themselves the Kalari," she explained to the assembled command staff in Aegis 7's conference room. "Their homeworld appears to be named Sanctuary, based on recurring linguistic patterns in the signal. "Appropriate name," remarked Commander Vega of the Thermopylae. "Especially if they're under attack. The signal has degraded significantly in the past 6 hours." Elena continued. "We may be looking at widespread infrastructure damage or jamming efforts by the attackers." "What kind of resistance should we expect?" asked Colonel Reyes of the 7th Marine Expeditionary Unit, a compact, intense woman whose unit specialized in planetary assault operations. Captain Hale brought up the latest intelligence reports. Grimlock raider vessels have distinctive configurations, typically asymmetrical with rotating weapon mounts. Long-range scans suggest at least 20 such vessels in the target sector, including what may be a flagship class we haven't encountered before. "And the Kalari defensive capabilities?" Commander Vega asked. Elena shook her head. "Unknown. The distress signal suggests they're outmatched, but we have no data on their technology level or military assets." "Then, we prepare for all contingencies," Vega decided. "The fleet will jump in battle formation, secure orbital superiority, and assess the ground situation before deploying Colonel Reyes' forces." "What about the Vorak warning?" someone asked. Captain Hale's expression hardened. "Earth Command has been clear. We answer the call. The Vorak Empire had their chance to intervene and chose not to." As the meeting concluded, Elena returned to her lab for one final attempt to extract information from the fading Kalari signal. The coordinates pointed to a star system with a G-type main sequence star, similar to Earth's Sun, and the third planet appeared to be the source of the transmission. Limited spectral analysis suggested an oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, surface gravity approximately 0.8 of Earth standard, and significant water coverage. A habitable world, by human standards, though the data was too incomplete for detailed assessment. Elena was still working when Captain Hale found her, 6 hours before the fleet's scheduled jump. "You should get some rest," he said. "Once the operation begins, we'll need your expertise interpreting any new communications." Elena nodded absently, eyes fixed on her screens. "The signal's almost gone. Whatever's happening on Sanctuary, it's reaching a critical point." "Then we'd better not be late," Hale replied. "Commander Vega has moved up the jump schedule. The fleet departs in 3 hours." Elena finally looked up at him. "This isn't just about first contact anymore, is it? We're going to war." "Not war," Hale corrected. "Rescue. But if the Grimlocks want to fight, they'll learn why humanity's homeworld earned its reputation." The Deathworlder fleet jumped precisely on schedule, 15 warships disappearing from the Arcturus system in coordinated flashes of distorted spacetime. On Aegis 7, Elena and Captain Hale monitored the operation from the command center, surrounded by tactical displays and communication arrays. The transit lasted 27 minutes, an eternity for those waiting, a mere instant in astronomical terms. When the fleet emerged in the Kalari system, the command center erupted with incoming data streams and status reports. "Multiple hostiles detected in planetary orbit. Energy weapons discharge detected. Grimlock vessels breaking formation, moving to intercept." The tactical display updated in real time, showing the human fleet's arrival point and the chaotic scatter of enemy ships around a blue-green world that must be Sanctuary. Smaller contacts, too numerous to count, littered the orbital space, debris from previous fighting. "Thermopylae reports weapons locked on Grimlock flagship," announced a communications officer. "Requesting permission to engage." "Permission granted," Hale responded without hesitation. "All vessels cleared to engage hostile forces." Elena watched in fascinated horror as the first human interstellar battle unfolded. The Grimlock vessels, jagged, asymmetrical constructs that resembled nothing so much as metallic predators, moved with surprising speed to meet the human fleet. Energy beams lanced between the opposing forces, while missile salvos traced bright paths across the void. The Thermopylae absorbed the first volley from the Grimlock flagship, its advanced shields flaring but holding. The human counterattack was immediate and devastating. Coordinated fire from 3 destroyers, overwhelming the flagship's defenses and tearing into its hull. Grimlock vessels deploying some kind of area effect weapon, reported the tactical officer. Radiation signature unknown. On the display, a spreading wave of energy emanated from several Grimlock ships, engulfing 2 human destroyers. For a terrible moment, their status indicators flickered. "Prohibited weapons detected," Hale announced, his voice hard. "Commander Vega, you are authorized to employ maximum response." The Thermopylae's main cannon, a massive coilgun accelerator designed to launch projectiles at appreciable fractions of light speed, fired once. The Grimlock flagship's midsection simply ceased to exist, the ship breaking into 2 spinning fragments. "Target neutralized," came Commander Vega's calm report. "Remaining hostiles scattering." But the Grimlocks didn't retreat. Instead, they adopted a new formation, concentrating fire on the human transports carrying Colonel Reyes's Marines. "They know we're here to help the Kalari," Elena realized. "They're trying to prevent us from reaching the surface." "They'll fail," Hale replied grimly. "Vega knows what's at stake." The battle in orbit lasted 42 minutes. When it ended, 13 Grimlock vessels had been destroyed or disabled, while the human fleet had lost 1 destroyer and suffered damage to 3 others. The path to sanctuary lay open. "Thermopylae reports orbital security established," announced the communications officer. "Colonel Reyes requests clearance for ground deployment." "Granted," Hale confirmed. "Priority 1 is locating Kalari survivors and securing their safety." The landing operation commenced immediately, with dropships carrying the first wave of Marines descending through Sanctuary's atmosphere. Orbital scans revealed a world in turmoil, cities burning, massive environmental damage from weapons fire, and scattered energy signatures that might represent surviving Kalari technology. "I'm detecting communication activity on the surface," Elena reported, monitoring the frequencies. Multiple sources, but heavily disrupted. The Grimlocks must be jamming planetary communications. "Can you establish contact with any Kalari survivors?" Hale asked. Elena shook her head. "Not directly, but I can track signal sources. The strongest emanates from this region." She highlighted an area on the map, which appears to be a major population center, or what's left of one. "Redirect Colonel Reyes to that location," Hale ordered. "If there are survivors sending those signals, that's where we'll find them." As the Marines deployed across Sanctuary's surface, Aegis 7's command center received the first visual feeds from the ground teams. The images were shocking. Sprawling cities reduced to rubble, forests burning unchecked, and strange, graceful structures toppled and broken. "First confirmation of Kalari physiology," reported a science officer, as body cam footage showed Marine medics treating injured aliens. Humanoid bipeds, average height 2.1 meters, 4-fingered hands, blue-tinted skin, no external ears. They appear to communicate through both vocalizations and color changes in facial markings. Elena studied the footage intently. The Kalari looked remarkably human-like in their basic form, though their proportions were more slender, their movements more fluid. Their faces bore intricate patterns that shifted colors as they interacted with the human rescuers. "They're not afraid of us," she noted with surprise. "Despite our physical differences, they're accepting help readily." "Desperation trumps xenophobia," Hale suggested. "And our Marines are clearly fighting the Grimlocks, which makes us allies by default." New alerts sounded as Colonel Reyes' main force reached the city center Elena had identified. The colonel's voice came through, tense with controlled fury. "Command, we've located what appears to be a processing center. The Grimlocks were systematically rounding up Kalari civilians. We've found execution chambers. Repeat, we have confirmed mass execution facilities, requesting immediate reinforcement and medical support." Elena felt physically ill as the implications sank in. This wasn't just an attack or invasion. It was attempted genocide. All available dropships. Redirect to Colonel Reyes' position. Hale ordered, his voice tight. Priority evacuation of Kalari survivors. Commander Vega, maintain orbital supremacy at all costs. The next hours brought a flood of harrowing reports and images. The Grimlocks had established processing centers across Sanctuary, herding Kalari civilians into camps and executing those who resisted. Human forces encountered fierce resistance at these facilities, suggesting the Grimlocks were determined to complete their grim work despite the intervention. Colonel Reyes reports they've secured the central processing facility, announced the tactical officer. Estimated 2 million Kalari civilians in the surrounding complex. Grimlock forces are massing for a counterattack. They won't get the chance, Hale declared. Authorize orbital fire support on all approaching Grimlock units. Vega knows the drill. Precision strikes. Minimal collateral damage. As if in response to his words, the tactical display showed concentrated weapons fire from the Thermopylae, targeting Grimlock ground forces with surgical precision. The alien advance faltered, then broke apart under the barrage. "New contact," shouted the sensor officer. "Single vessel approaching from the outer system. Configuration matches Grimlock command ship profiles." "Reinforcements?" Hale wondered aloud. "Possible," Elena replied, studying the data. "But the approach vector is unusual. It's coming in fast, on a direct course for the main processing facility." "Warn Colonel Reyes," Hale ordered. "This could be their commander making a final push." The warning came just in time. The Grimlock command ship bypassed the orbital battle entirely, using its superior speed to dive straight for the planet's surface. Point defense systems from the human fleet scored hits, but failed to stop its descent. "Craft has landed approximately 2 kilometers from Colonel Reyes' position," reported the tactical officer. "Sensors detect a single large lifeform disembarking, moving toward the facility." "Graxus," Elena whispered, recalling intelligence reports about the suspected Grimlock commander. Colonel Reyes' voice crackled over the comm. "Command, hostile commander approaching. Unit is establishing defensive perimeter around Kalari civilians. Request permission to engage." "Permission granted," Hale responded. "Stop him at all costs. Colonel." The ensuing battle was captured in fragmentary bodycam footage and tactical overlays. Graxus, a massive, armored figure standing nearly 3 meters tall, tore through the human defensive line with terrifying speed. Conventional weapons seemed to barely slow the Grimlock commander, who appeared intent on reaching the processing facility's control center. "He's trying to trigger the execution protocols," Elena realized. They built the facility to eliminate all captives if they lost control. Colonel Reyes and a squad of her best Marines intercepted Graxus at the facility entrance. The footage showed powered armor, human exoskeletons designed for Earth's punishing gravity, going toe-to-toe with the alien commander. "You came for them," Graxus's translator rasped, his voice distorted, but understandable. "Soft species, doomed species. You waste your strength." "We came because they asked," Reyes replied, her powered armor absorbing a devastating blow that would have crushed an unprotected human. "Something you wouldn't understand." The fight was brutal and brief. Reyes and 3 Marines coordinated their attack, sacrificing tactical advantage to draw Graxus away from the facility controls. When the Grimlock commander lunged for Reyes, the other Marines seized the opening, targeting exposed joints in his armor with concentrated fire. Graxus fell, his final words lost in a burst of static as his translator failed. "Facility secured," Reyes reported, her breathing labored. "Grimlock commander neutralized. Beginning evacuation of Kalari civilians." On Aegis 7, the command center erupted in subdued cheers. Elena sagged in her chair, the tension of the past days catching up to her all at once. "We did it," she whispered. "We answered their call." Captain Hale rested a hand briefly on her shoulder. "We answered, and now the real work begins." The aftermath of the battle for Sanctuary unfolded over weeks rather than days. Human medical teams established field hospitals across the planet's surface, treating injured Kalari, and beginning the process of rebuilding critical infrastructure. Elena traveled to the surface 7 days after the initial landing, authorized by Captain Hale to serve as liaison between human forces and Kalari survivors. Her first step onto alien soil, the first human xenocommunications officer to set foot on a non-human world, was marked by no ceremony, only the urgent needs of the moment. The Kalari civilization, she discovered, was technologically advanced but focused more on sustainable integration with their environment than military power. Their cities blended seamlessly with the natural landscape, structures flowing into and enhancing the surrounding ecosystems rather than replacing them. "We believed ourselves alone," explained Lather, a Kalari engineer who worked alongside Elena to rebuild their communication arrays. His facial markings shifted through shades of blue as he spoke, adding nuance to his translated words. "Our astronomers detected no signals from other worlds. When the Grimlocks came, we had no defenses prepared." "Why did they attack you?" Elena asked, passing him a tool from her kit. Lathor's markings darkened. "Resources, partly. Our world is rich in elements they value, but their leader, Graxus, told our representatives that we were an evolutionary mistake, a species too peaceful to deserve the stars." Elena felt a chill at the familiar rhetoric. Even across the gulf of species, some hatreds remained recognizable. "The Vorak Empire knew about the attack," she said. "They did nothing." "The Vorak care only for power and stability," Lather replied. "We were neither powerful enough to court, nor unstable enough to fear. So they ignored our pleas, claiming jurisdiction while doing nothing. Until your signal reached us." Lather's markings brightened to a vivid azure, the Kalari expression of hope. Elena had learned. "Until the Deathworlders came," he agreed. "The strong who chose to protect rather than dominate." Their work continued day and night, restoring communication links between scattered Kalari communities and coordinating rescue efforts. 20 days after the battle, the array detected approaching vessels. "Vorak signatures," confirmed a human technician. 7 ships, Imperial configuration. Elena contacted Captain Hale immediately. "The Vorak have arrived, sir. Their intentions are unclear." Hale's response was calm but firm. "Commander Vega has been informed. The fleet is moving to defensive positions around Sanctuary. If the Vorak wish to speak, we will listen. If they intend hostile action, they will be treated accordingly." The Vorak delegation established orbit and transmitted a formal message to both human forces and Kalari representatives. Elena participated in the translation effort, her expertise in xenocommunications proving invaluable. The Imperial Overseer extends greetings to human military forces and reminds them that this sector falls under Vorak protection. The message began. "The unfortunate incidents involving the Kalari world are a matter of internal security. The Empire will now assume responsibility for discipline and restoration." The implication was clear. The humans were to withdraw, leaving the Kalari to whatever discipline the Vorak deemed appropriate. Captain Hale's response, drafted with input from Earth Command and Kalari leaders, was diplomatically phrased but unyielding. Human forces acknowledge the Vorak Empire's traditional claims in this region. However, we responded to a direct distress call from the Kalari people, who faced extinction while under said protection. We will remain until the security and reconstruction of Sanctuary is assured, in accordance with the wishes of its legitimate government. The Vorak ships maintained their position for 3 days, occasionally transmitting increasingly forceful demands for human withdrawal. On the 4th day, they advanced toward the planet in formation. "They're testing us," Hale observed from the Thermopylae's command deck, where he had relocated to coordinate the response. "Seeing if we'll back down when directly challenged." Commander Vega nodded grimly. "Bullies are the same across species, it seems." "Inform all vessels. Defensive positions only," Hale ordered. "We do not fire first, but if the Vorak initiate hostilities, We respond with full force. The Vorak ships approached to just beyond weapons range, then launched what appeared to be landing craft toward the surface, bypassing the human fleet in a maneuver reminiscent of the Grimlock command ship's final gambit. They're trying to establish a ground presence, Elena realized, monitoring the situation from the surface. Once they have troops here, they'll claim intervention as internal interference. Colonel Reyes, intercept those landing craft, Hale commanded. Non-destructive measures if possible, but they do not reach the surface. What followed was a demonstration of the tactics that had earned humans their reputation. Marine dropships executed high-G maneuvers that would have incapacitated most species, intercepting the Vorak craft in mid-descent. Point defense systems disabled engines and guidance systems without destroying the vessels, leaving them drifting harmlessly. The Vorak flagship opened fire on the Thermopylae, a probing shot that dissipated against the human warship's shields. "They've made their choice," Vega stated. "Orders, Captain." "Show them why Earth is called a death world," Hale replied. The human fleet's response was coordinated and overwhelming, not targeting the Vorak ships directly, but executing a complex series of maneuvers that isolated each vessel and neutralized its offensive capabilities in sequence. Weapons designed to function in Earth's crushing gravity and punishing atmospheric conditions proved devastatingly effective against Imperial technology, calibrated for more forgiving environments. Within 30 minutes, the Vorak fleet was effectively neutralized, not destroyed, but rendered incapable of either attack or retreat. "Open a channel to the Imperial flagship," Hale instructed. When the connection was established, he addressed the Vorak commander directly. "Your vessels are disabled but intact, your crews unharmed. We have demonstrated our capabilities and our restraint. The Kalari world of Sanctuary is under human protection by mutual agreement. You may withdraw to report this fact to your superiors, or remain as observers to the reconstruction efforts. The choice is yours." The Vorak response came hours later, a terse acknowledgement and request for assistance returning to operational status. Human engineers helped restore minimum functionality to their drives, and the Imperial fleet departed the system without further incident. Word of the confrontation spread quickly. Within days, representatives from 3 previously unknown species made contact with human diplomatic channels, seeking information about the Protection Accord referenced in Captain Hale's message to the Vorak. "There is no formal accord yet," Elena explained to Captain Hale as they discussed the development. "But perhaps there should be." Hale nodded thoughtfully. "Earth Command is already drafting terms, a mutual defense agreement among willing species, with human forces as the primary military component. Because we're the Deathworlders," Elena said with a faint smile. "The ones evolved to survive the unsurvivable. And now, it seems, to protect those who cannot protect themselves." The formal signing of the Protection Accord took place 60 days after the battle for Sanctuary. Representatives from Earth, the Kalari government, and 5 other species gathered on the renamed station, Sanctuary Beacon, formerly Aegis 7, to establish a new framework for interstellar cooperation. Dr. Elena Shaw, appointed as the first human ambassador to the Kalari, stood beside Captain Hale as they watched the proceedings from a viewing gallery. "Did you ever imagine this would be the outcome when you detected that signal?" Hale asked quietly. Elena shook her head. "I hoped for peaceful contact, not war and diplomacy in rapid succession. But I'm proud of what we've accomplished." "The wrong hands received their message," Hale mused. "Wrong for the Grimlocks, wrong for the Vorak, but right for the Kalari." "Right for all of us," Elena corrected. "Humanity needed a purpose beyond expansion and exploitation. Now we have one, protectors of those who evolve in gentler worlds." Below them, the delegates completed the signing ceremony. A new era had begun, one in which humanity's hardships and adaptations would serve not as weapons of conquest, but as shields for those who had never needed to develop them. The fleet has already received requests for protection from a dozen worlds, Hale remarked. Seems the word is spreading fast. Fear travels quickly, Elena said, but hope travels faster. As the delegates dispersed, a Kalari representative approached them, Lather, now serving on the Accord's Technical Exchange Committee. His facial markings glowed with vibrant azure and gold as he bowed in the human manner. Ambassador Shaw, Captain Hale, he greeted them. The Kalari Council wishes to express our deepest gratitude. Our astronomers have proposed naming a stellar phenomenon after Earth, a pulsar near our system that emits regular, powerful bursts. They call it the Guardian. Hale smiled. A fitting symbol. There will be challenges ahead, Elena cautioned. The Vorak Empire won't accept this new arrangement easily, and there may be other threats we haven't encountered yet. But they will find us ready, Lather said, his markings shifting to deep, resolute blue. Together, as they looked out over the assembled delegates, humans and aliens working side by side to forge a new path, Elena felt a profound sense of rightness. Humanity had received the wrong message, meant for other hands, and in doing so had discovered its true purpose among the stars. The Deathworlders had become guardians, and the galaxy would never be the same.